with us now. The chief White House correspondent for Politico, Mike Allen. He's here with the morning playbook. So Mike, let's just look ahead here. So you've written this story, Eve of Destruction. It's a fascinating read, talking about how Republicans are concerned. They, of course, nobody will express this on the record because they're afraid they'll get killed by people on the far right. But Republican leaders are very concerned that the party may be in a worse position now than it was even after Mitt Romney lost last fall. Why?
Yeah, well, Joe, you said earlier that you thought it was melodramatic, but Joe, you have these conversations as well, and you know that top Republicans are worried as they go into the fall that if there's not a real course correction by the party, that they're going to be digging themselves an even deeper hole. This conversation about shutting down the government, about not funding the debt. Republican pollsters say that the only way that you can turn Obamacare from a negative for the president to a positive for the president is to link it to shutting down the government. On racial issues, Trayvon Martin, the party didn't have a positive message. They didn't have expressed sympathy for his mother. On gay rights, there isn't a new message. You talk to Republicans, they say that eventually they're going to have to go to a message talking more about religious liberty and separating church and state. That hasn't been done yet. So these groups that in the autopsy Republicans know they need to reach, they're not doing anything to do it. And the also, biggest of all, immigration.
I was going to say also, of course, immigration. You know what's fascinating is, and I guess Chris Christie's the exception of the rule. Since 2006, I was reading your article, no Republican speaking on the record. Since 2006, when I started saying early in that year that George W. Bush was destroying the Republican Party's chance to hold on to the House majority. I was getting absolutely killed. Since 2006, Republican leaders have said one thing in green rooms, another thing on TV, and then another thing on talk radio. Like, nobody has the guts. Chris Christie's an exception, but no elected leaders have the guts to stare down the crazies in their own party. And I'm not talking to conservatives. I'm talking crazies who make millions and millions of dollars every day trying to be as divisive and as extreme as possible. And I salute them for making money. God bless them for making money. I want everybody to make lots of money. God bless you. I love capitalism. But that ain't an electoral strategy. And you read this article, and I hear it nonstop. I hear it from conservative House members. I said this earlier, that have 95, 96, 97, 98% conservative index ratings with the ACU, who are saying behind the scenes, my God, some of these extremists are killing us. And yet nobody will talk on the record and say this on the record. And while they cower in the corner, we may be facing 8 years of Hillary Clinton, 16 straight years of a Democratic presidency.
Well, Joe, this is the difference between the politics of 2014, a midterm, when these Republicans are concerned about defending their extremely red, extremely Republican districts, and 2016, when all of a sudden you need a new national face for the party. Now, Joe, what Republicans say is that what they need is a new candidate, that it's a person that will do it, not the party, that in 1980, what caused blue-collar working class voters to turn to Republicans was not the Republican Party, but Ronald Reagan. So their hope is that there'll be a candidate who will do this job. But we hear Republicans say that they hope that during the fall, the party, congressional leaders will do more to move the party in this direction to set that candidate up for success.
Well, I was just going to say, Joe, you make a great point about when it comes to social conservative issues and party leaders, because I'm just going to use myself as an example.
Right.
Reince Priebus, when I got engaged, congratulated me at the White House Correspondents' Weekend. Last year, Sean Spicer congratulated me on getting married to my husband. Yet they incorporated into the platform of the RNC their stance against marriage equality. Right. So it's odd, because why congratulate me? I didn't bring it up.
Right.
I didn't say, give me a congratulations, but they offered it. So it's odd, because then they'll go out and drumbeat that they're against marriage equality. Right. So it's weird. That's the problem.
It's also tone. It's how you do it. I'm sure you and I would not agree on everything as it relates to all social issues, but we can sit down and talk The problem is everything is so confrontational, and there's so many extremes. And for you, it may be an issue where you support me on marriage equality, or I'm not voting Republican. For other gay and lesbian voters, well, that's important. But just talk to me, have a dialogue, don't disrespect me. Right. For me, economic issues are the most important. For somebody, I mean, and it's the same thing with Hispanics. The idea that Hispanics all are going to move in one direction or another based on where you stand on immigration reform. It's overly simplistic. Same thing for African Americans. But you take, and we brought up Trayvon. You take Trayvon Martin. It would have cost Republican leaders absolutely nothing, Ed Rendell, absolutely nothing, to just show a little respect.
Sure.
And show a little bit of sympathy.
And they didn't do it.
And speak out against the most extreme elements. Supporting George Zimmerman before they even knew the facts of the case.
Right.
Now, I got out early. I said some things about George Zimmerman myself. I shouldn't have said, perhaps. I got overly emotional. But I'm not in office, and if I were in office, I would have apologized. Right. The thing is, there are so many of these issues, so many of these social issues, so many of these racial issues. It doesn't cost you anything to be compassionate. It doesn't cost you anything to not whip up your base into a fury. It doesn't cost you anything to stay off of talk radio or to stay off of primetime cable news shows where you get in the middle of this divisive debate and you send a message to African Americans and other minorities that you really don't care. Hey, not only did we get slaughtered among African Americans, we got slaughtered among Hispanic Americans, and most, I think, frightening for Republicans, we even got beaten pretty badly among Asian Americans. The Republican Party right now is sending out signals.
And they're all.
If you're not white,
right,
you're really not welcome in this party. And by the way, people are going to get mad at me for saying it. Look at the numbers from 2012. Mm-hmm. We could do things that don't cost us a lot.
Perfect
We're not even doing it.
Was the presidential debates when that gay soldier called in and the crowd booed him, and not one of the candidates had the guts to stand up and say, hey, I don't care if you disagree with his lifestyle choices. He's out there protecting the United States of America. He deserves your respect.
And you know what? Guts. That's what this all boils down to. What we're all talking about. It's just speaking out. Mike Allen, or Mike, we started with you. I was just talking about since 2006. Republicans have grimaced and they've hidden in the corners and what are we going to do about these people on talk radio and these people on cable news that are saying these things that are driving off the very swing voters we need to get elected to the White House again? Yeah, guts. And they don't have guts to speak out against the extreme. Mitt Romney never had the guts to speak out against the most extreme elements in his party, and he lost in part because he followed extremists down a rabbit hole in Iowa in a caucus process on immigration, and he got slaughtered among Hispanic Americans because of it, and he got beaten in other areas too because he never spoke out and had that famous Bill Clinton sister soldier moment. That, by the way, conservatives cheered when it was a Democrat doing it to extremists in his own base.
Right, and Joe, if you don't have that moment, you don't need to worry about your debate format or your data gurus or your turnout program, because there's no way that in 2016 there are going to be fewer youth voters. There's no way that there's going to be fewer minority voters. You have to fix that math problem if you're the Republican Party.
No doubt about it. Mike Allen, thank you so much. Greatly appreciate it.